All right. We have a new story today. So on Monday, we read a story about a 7-year-old who got a 3D printer hand. I said that really weird, but that's what happened, right? They 3D printed a hand, and she was able to actually use her hand for once. And then yesterday, from what I saw, really only the in-person kids finished this. So if you're online, make sure you go finish the questions from that I posted yesterday. Those are a grade. Just because I didn't give a video on doing them doesn't mean that they are not. You still have to do them, basically, right? So make sure you finish up those questions from yesterday. Those are called text questions. 7-year-old gets a new hand. So make sure you finish those. Only 12 people turned it in, and most of those were on in-person students because I made them do it here. So if you're at home, make sure you do it. Today, we are going to work on this one. Is it on your guys' Google Classroom? Maybe reload the page. It's called Screen Time Can Mess with the Body's Clock.
Yeah, that's true.
You guys have it now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead and get that opened up, please. And we will work on this assignment today. All right, I'll give you guys a minute or two to go ahead and get that pulled up. And we'll do what we normally do, where we do our background, learn about the author, and read through it, right? So I'm looking at it before we get going. See what we got here. Okay, cool. Not too much to do. I'll give you about 1 more minute to go ahead and get that pulled up and ready to go. Looks like most of you guys are getting there. We're just waiting for them to load. Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. So, screen time can mess with the body's clock. What do they mean by the body's clock? What does that mean?
Like time. The time they like sleep.
Like, yeah.
Like again, like for an hour, we think it's only been a minute, and we're like just a little bit longer.
Yeah, so your body's clock is like how your body perceives time, right? So most of the time people are on a day and night type of schedule, right? Like you wake up in the morning at a reasonable hour, hopefully, not, I mean, it just depends on when you go to bed, right? But your body's clock adjusts to how you spend time doing things, right? So my body has adjusted to waking up early because as a teacher, I have to wake up really early to get here every day.
I always wake up around 7 o'clock.
Yeah, and you guys as students might have the same type of thing because maybe your body has adjusted to the fact that you have to be up early for school. If not, yeah, so it depends on the person, but my biological clock or my body's like clock doesn't really let me sleep past like 7. I wake up by 7 most days. And then if it's the weekend, I'll just stay in bed because I don't want to get out of bed yet. But if it's a work day, I'm up by 5:30 every morning, right? So it depends on your body's clock. But screen time and the amount of time that you spend looking at a screen before bed or throughout the day can affect and it can change your body's clock and how it perceives time. So we're going to read a little bit of an article about that. And yeah, let's start with the background and the author. This might be a little bit loud, so turn your volume down if you don't want it to blast your ears. I'm going to start with the background, so we're going to do that in 3, 2, 1.
Screen time can mess with the body's clock by Andrew Bridges. News article. Background. Modern technology includes many handheld devices that feature electronic display screens, such as smartphones, tablets, and laptop computers. LCDs, or liquid crystal displays, are a common type of electronic display, and they were introduced in the 1960s. Researchers are still studying the possible effects that electronic displays might have on people. About the author. Andrew Bridges is a reporter, writer, and editor who has written many science articles for newspapers and websites. He has also published several juvenile nonfiction books about space travel, information technology, and the environment. Bridges is currently a 5th grade teacher.
All right. So Andrew Bridges teaches 5th grade, but he's also a writer. So he writes about things that are about science, technology, and stuff like that. This is a news article, so is it true or not?
True.
It's going to be true, which is fiction or nonfiction? Nonfiction. This is a nonfiction reading. It's true. So the first sentence there looks like they're going to talk about some experts and stuff. Yeah.
You need to think of it like not like.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in and read through it. And then we will do the first read charts, and then a little bit of the close read, and then we'll be done. I don't think it'll take us too long. So let's go ahead and read it. I'm going to play it in 3, 2, 1.
Screen time can mess with the body's clock by Andrew Bridges. For a good night's sleep, here is some expert advice. Turn off, turn in, and drop off. Anyone who does the opposite, say turning on an iPad or other similar electronic reader in bed, may have a harder time both dropping off to sleep and shaking that groggy feeling the next morning. That's the conclusion of a new study. Sleep experts at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts, found that the light from a tablet computer upsets the body's internal clock. And that can create real health and safety risks, the researchers say. Reading a printed book did not have the same effect. They reported their findings January 27th in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. An internal clock helps regulate when we eat, sleep, and wake. Exposure to the light of day and darkness of night keeps its timing set to a roughly 24-hour cycle. For instance, starting about 2 hours before bedtime, our brains start to produce a hormone called melatonin. It signals our internal clock that darkness has fallen. It also prepares the body for sleep. Scientists long have known that light at night can disrupt that internal clock, and it does so by suppressing melatonin. This prevents the body from getting the message that bedtime is near. Electronic devices with lit screens are now hugely popular. They have added another source of artificial light at night. The new study looked specifically at the iPad. Apple has sold more than 225 million of these tablets since their introduction in 2010. For their new study, the researchers recruited 6 men and 6 women, all in their mid-20s. Over 2 weeks, each spent 4 hours reading each evening before a 10 p.m. bedtime. The volunteers read on an iPad for 5 nights in a row. On another 5 consecutive evenings, they read a printed book. The researchers noted how long it took the volunteers to fall asleep, how long they spent asleep, and how long they remained in each stage of sleep. The experts also took blood samples to measure melatonin levels. People took nearly 10 minutes longer to fall asleep, on average, after reading on the iPads. They also spent less time in rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. This sleep phase appears important for learning and storing memories.
So they are testing these people to see if what happens. What are they doing?
They get better sleep, worse sleep. They're comparing and contrast a book compared to a book on the tablet.
Good. So they're asking them to read on the tablet versus a paper book, and then they're going to see how that affects their sleep, their mood the next day, the level of melatonin in their system. And melatonin is just a chemical, a hormone that your brain produces naturally that tells you, yo, it's time to sleep. There are melatonin pills, but that's because some people have trouble producing the melatonin, so that's why. But for the most part, most people produce the right amount, and it tells you, yo, this is time to sleep, go to sleep. But if you are potentially have your lights on all night, or you're playing a video game all night, or looking at a phone, it messes up with the amount of melatonin maybe. Yeah, so it could affect how much you sleep. So let's go ahead and keep going and see the results of their study. So we're on paragraph 11 here.
There was no difference in hours spent sleeping after reading from either the iPad or a printed book, but how volunteers felt the next day did differ. Our most surprising finding was that individuals using the e-reader would be more tired and take longer to become alert the next morning, says sleep researcher Anne-Marie Chang. This has real consequences for daytime functioning, she says. And these effects might be worse in the real world as opposed to the controlled environment we used. A co-author of the study, she works at Pennsylvania State University in University Park. Previously, she worked at Brigham and Women's Hospital. Lighting scientist Mariana Figueroa calls the study thorough. She also finds its results unsurprising. Figueroa, who was not connected to this new study, works at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. Her research has shown that spending even 2 hours on an iPad before bedtime can cut down the brain's release of melatonin. While she generally liked the study, she was concerned about its applicability to real life. This experiment was done in a laboratory setting under very dim lights. And that, she says, may not mimic how most people use e-readers or read printed books. It's not necessarily true, she says, that books are okay, but e-readers are not. She notes that if you turn on a very bright light to read, it may have the same effect. What's more, she points out, spending plenty of time exposed to natural light during the day can reduce the body's sensitivity to artificial light at night. The same iPad may have a much stronger effect on kids who stay indoors during the day in dim light, Figueroa says, than on kids who play outdoors. Regularly getting too little sleep can pose important health risks. For instance, studies have shown that it can up the risk of everything from obesity, diabetes, and depression to car accidents.
All right. So did they say that it was better or worse to read a book or the e-reader? Potentially could be better to read a book. But then that last scientist talked about how, yeah, the last scientist there talked about how just because you're reading a book, it doesn't mean it could be better, because you might have to turn on more lights and it might be brighter in your room, which could mimic daylight, which makes you stay up longer. So if you're going to read a book at night, maybe do it in less lighting.
I always wake up around the same time.
Yeah. So could there's a lot of different things that go into it, and the differences between brightnesses and all of that stuff could affect your sleep and all of that. So it's not a straightforward, yes, screens mess with your body's internal clock.
It's just the light.
Yeah, it really depends on how much you use it, how long, the type of light you're using. So there's way too many factors for us to really be able to say, yep, screen time messes with it because of this, this, and this. We know that it can help contribute to sleep troubles, but might not be like the worst thing ever, you know? We can't really tell yet. They still got to do a little bit more research, it seems. So let's go ahead and go over to making meaning. We're only going to do these two sections here, first read and then close read the text. So let's start with first read and open up our charts that we do all the time. The hair in my mask. Go ahead and put the title in there really quick.
So she copied and pasted it.
I'm just gonna write screen time. Whoa. Yeah, I'm still just gonna write screen time. Screen time. All right. So let's start with the first two boxes. These are very similar to what we normally do. Let's have you answer who is involved and what is it about. This does not need to be complete sentences yet. Who is involved and what is it about? All right, go ahead and take a minute to answer that one. And for annotate, highlight two important things from the text. I'll give you a few minutes to work on this part here. No, Marty, I said that already. You could talk about the researchers or who are they.
I'm gonna write the 5 people and 6, 12 people. Is it 12 or 10?
I don't know. You have to go with
5. You're the 5. Oh, there's 6 minutes.
yeah. Jada, where's your computer? Or ignore me. I guess that's fine too. there's no charts to be printed with it, so on like the back of the page, yeah, so the questions or something. Alright, so some of you guys are finishing up with that first part, so I'm just going to scroll down and have you guys work on the second part as well. The connections ones. The connections ones? Whatever. So, the bottom parts, yeah. So this is what we've been doing before. You're going to connect to anything that we've read, anything about yourself. Do you spend time on screens before bed? Anything like that. So, connect this news article to two things. It can be yourself. It can be other stories we've read, movie, TV, whatever else you can figure out what to connect it to. That works for me. And then you need to write a 2 to 3 sentence summary on the second part. That's fine. I'll give you guys a few minutes to work on those as well. The hair somewhere in this mask is annoying me. Who was it? Bradford? Yes. Yep.
How do you say that?
Bradford.
Bradford?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once you finish that up, you can close it. We'll do one more section after this. I'm going to give you guys about 2 or 3 more minutes.
Are we gonna finish the whole section?
Nope. We're just doing 2 of them. You guys will do the questions tomorrow. Those are great.
No, this something was for the morning. Maybe I need to turn my, look like, then. Stuff funny. thought you meant like the book like can brighten up and. I can change the light. I don't like it dim, but I like it. So I can do it.
Do about 2 more minutes and then we will look at the last part we're gonna do today. Like I said, kind of a quick lesson because we're gonna do most of it tomorrow instead. So. Alright. Seems as though a lot of you guys are finishing up this section, so I think we can go look at our next one. So you guys can close out of that first read chart. And then we are going to do close read the text.
Are we gonna skip the analyze the text one too?
Yep. So we only have 2 questions we're going to do here. We'll do close read the text on the left right here. We're going to skip analyze the text, and then you guys are going to do a little paragraph at the end, just like we did on Monday. So skip this one. Add our title, screen time. And then we are going to do the close read together on this one. So let's start with a couple of questions that you guys might have based on this reading that we did. Don?
I wonder what made them
Okay. I wonder what made them want to research this. I wonder what made them want to research this topic. Good question. Why would people want to research this topic? Yeah, maybe it's a personal problem. Maybe someone in that group isn't sleeping well, so they wanted to research it, so they pulled in a couple other people that could help them research it. What other types of questions could we ask about this one?
Why did they? What was the percent that was thinking for reading the normal book?
Okay, so like what are the actual statistics? What are the actual statistics they got? So between reading an actual book or reading on a tablet, what are the statistics that they found for sleeping, right? And then let's do one more. Someone besides Alan answer though, because he's not the only one in class. What other types of questions could we ask about this article?
What people did the testing? Like just were the testers?
Okay, so who were the testers, right? It was just people that volunteered. So who were the volunteers? Were they children? Were they adults? Were they?
Said they were people in their mid-20s.
Oh, people in their mid-20s. Okay. But then you could ask stuff like, what type of lifestyles? Like, are they teachers? They get up early, or do they sleep in all day? Like, they have different lifestyles, right? So you could figure out questions like that. That would be cool too. Yeah, maybe their gender affects it. Yeah.
I know. I like to sleep in. I would wake up at 6 o'clock every morning. I like to get 5
See, I'm the opposite. I don't like to sleep in. I like to get up early.
The latest I've slept in is either 6:45 to 7 o'clock.
And some people really like to sleep in, so it really changes. All right, and then let's do some conclusions. What can we say for sure about, or after we read this article, what can we say for sure?
That light changes our body.
Okay, light can affect our sleep, right?
Yeah,
Light can affect our sleep. Good. Whether it's artificial or not. Have you guys ever heard about Alaska? Well, you've heard about Alaska, but like in Alaska, yeah, more of the summertime. No, it's the opposite, right? The winter and summer are kind of opposite, right? Because they're up near the pole, the North Pole, right? The way that the sun and the rotation of the Earth is changes. So in winter, their days are there are weeks at a time where they don't have sunlight at all.
They might have like maybe 30 minutes of it.
Yeah, they get very, very little sunlight in the winter. And then in the summertime, they get very, very, very little nighttime. Like they have to have special curtains and stuff like that to make it look like it's dark outside because the sun is out at all hours of the day. It will be 2 in the morning and it'll be sunny and the sun is out.
It'll be 10 in the morning.
Yeah. So Alaska is a place where people find it very difficult to sleep and keep a consistent sleep schedule sometimes. They use a lot of artificial lighting, or they make it dark in their house with those special shutters. So yeah,
So that's kind of like standard, because like ours is like a little bit shorter in the winter, and then the summer it's a little bit longer.
yeah, like just slightly longer and slightly shorter in the winter and the summer, right? But for them, it's really extreme. In the winter, it's dark all the time, and in the summer, yeah. Canada's not that bad. It depends on where you live in Canada. It's the closer up to the poles that you get. So the North and the South Pole affect it. So the closer you are to the South Pole and the closer you are to the North Pole, that's when it happens. The closer you are to the equator, like Mexico or us, we're pretty close to the equator, the less the nights and the days change, right? So it depends on where you are on the Earth.
We are on the equator, it would just stay the same.
It's pretty consistent. Yeah, you get your 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of light or nighttime. What else can we conclude? The people were in their 20s, okay. All right. Alan, what were you gonna say? Well, they didn't see a difference in the sleep, but what did they see a difference in the day after?
The average of the time was 10 minutes.
To fall asleep, yeah. But the next day, Marty got it. Their moods were different the next day, a little bit. So different ways of reading at night changed their mood the next day. And then Dallin also said that reading on a tablet made you fall asleep about 10 minutes later. Made them fall asleep about 10 minutes later. So there's a couple of things that we could type out there. I'll let you guys get that typed out. It's kind of a lot. Give you a few minutes. usually when you read stuff about a study, like a research study that they did, you can write a few conclusions down because they tell you things that happened because of the study, right? They give you the results, and that's what a conclusion is. What's the result of something?
My little sister had to have a sleep study done because she wouldn't sleep at night. And her doctor told my mom to get her a red nightlight, and she started sleeping with red nightlight.
Interesting.
But if it was blue, then it would have woke her up. So my mom activated with, like, got one where it switched colors at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
So at blue, she would set, like, in her sleep so that the light was blue.
And then wake up. Weird.
But when the light was red, she was out for hours.
So even the color of the light can affect it.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that was a thing.
I'm almost done. I tried sleeping like with my LED lights in my room, like on red, and lights was good. We still have a question for you.
Okay.
How do men know about black holes?
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
Because scientists can use telescopes to see a black hole, probably. It's not that we observe them in a black hole. We can't go into a black hole, but we can see them through telescopes and in space.
I can blame out my hair.
Yeah. Most people.
I can use it.
Alrighty. I'll let you guys finish typing that out, but I'm going to scroll down a little bit because down below you guys have a paragraph to write. It says, it's basically what we did on the first one we did the other day. Pick a paragraph that grabbed your attention. Explain why. In 4 to 5 sentences. So in 4 to 5 sentences, explain why a specific paragraph grabbed your attention. Okay, so one of those paragraphs you're probably like, oh, that's some cool information, right? Why? Tell me why. 4 to 5 sentences, please. Once you're done with that, that is our ELA lesson. And I will let you guys just kind of work on things. Tomorrow is when we will do those text questions that go along with this reading. So I'm going to stop our recording, but let you guys keep working for right now.